A surprise entry into the transfer portal for the LSU men's basketball team. We got to talk about it. Locked on LSU. Here we go.
You are Locked on LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, let's get it. It is Locked on LSU, your team every day. I'm your host, Matt Moscona. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. We are free, available wherever you get podcasts, of course, on YouTube as well. So please subscribe. As always, one of the fastest ways to help us grow is by leaving your comments below. So thank you for that. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. The transfer portal for basketball closed on Tuesday, the 22nd. But we are still just now learning all of the names that put all of the people that players that put their names in the portal as those become public. And on Wednesday, we learned of another LSU men's basketball player that decided to enter his name into the transfer portal. This was a surprise. It is Curtis Givens. So Givens was the number 10 point guard in the country, number 61 overall player in the country, a 4-star in the class of 2024 out of Montverde. He's from Memphis, finished his career in Montverde in Florida, which is where Ben Simmons notoriously played. And Givens came to LSU as a freshman point guard here in the 2024-2025 season, 6'3", 185, and played in 32 games, started 12 times. All of his starts came against SEC opponents, but he, of course, that was a big part of the late season, a change by Matt McMahon to go to a 4-guard lineup. Well, the productivity from Givens wasn't necessarily there, but that was a guy that they had, they're very high on. Averaged 4.8 points, 1.7 rebounds, 1.6 assists per game. Had 4 games in double figures. His best game of the season was when he scored 15 against ULM back in November. Hit 3 3-pointers in the game at Missouri, also an LSU win. 11 points in the game against Florida back on February 22nd. So you started to see Curtis Givens come along a little bit here in his freshman season, especially late. And that's something that Matt McMahon was pretty open about in February as they were going to the 4-guard lineup. And of course, that performance, that 11-point performance, was against Florida. And then McMahon, a day later, was talking about Givens seeing more playing time at that point in the season.
His roles increased because of the defensive end of the floor. He's got good size and physicality there. He's really helping us, and now you're seeing him play with more confidence on the offensive end. Goes 4 assists, 0 turnovers tonight. Hits 3 threes. Would have liked to have been a higher percentage from the floor, but I think he's just making a lot of winning plays for us.
So he was seeing time against a team that ended up winning the national championship there in Florida. So that was someone that they thought a lot about and highly of. And remember also that when the portal opened, you saw 7 LSU basketball players enter the portal. Victorious Miller, Mike Williams, Corey Chest, Tyrell Ward, Noah Boyd, Damian Collins, that's 6, and now Curtis Givens becomes the 7th player to enter the portal. So you start doing some numbers, and you can look at DJ Thomas from UNLV coming in, Rashad King from Northeastern, Max McKinnon from Portland, Markel Sutton coming in from Omaha, and Michael Nwoko coming in from Mississippi State. So you've added 5, and you've seen now 7 go out. And remember, the thought was you were going to have 3 return. We had learned that Jalen Reed was returning, Robert Miller was returning, and Givens was the 3rd. So in addition to the 6, now 7 guys in the portal, you also had guys out of eligibility. And this was Matt McMahon there during this portal window talking about the 3 guys returning, which included Givens.
They fit the culture that we want to build, high character people that are committed to the hard work. Jalen Reed just battling through. You saw the jump he made from year 1 to year 2, and then the massive jump from year 2 to year 3 before the unfortunate injury. But I just love that relationship piece of it, seeing him battle through the adversity. He's working like crazy on his rehab and in the weight room, and I expect him to come back better and stronger than ever before. And then I think it was Rob Miller, just the unlimited potential there at 6'11", 7'4" wingspan. Had some breakout games, the 19-10 performance against Florida. You saw him shoot the ball from behind the three-point line better when we got into league play. And then courtesy of the experience that he got this year is just priceless.
So that was Matt McMahon, by the way. He was a guest on Tiger Rag Radio when he made those comments. That's where that was from. Let me make sure I give proper attribution. But Matt McMahon was anticipating those three guys returning. Now, keep in mind, obviously, in addition to the players going into the portal, you were losing Jordan Sears to graduation. You were losing Jai Bailey. You're losing Cam Carter. So you had guys on this team, Derek Fountain, that were out of eligibility. So you lose those guys who are out of eligibility. Now you have 7 players in the portal. The real question for Matt McMahon now becomes numbers. You've added the 5 guys via the transfer portal. You have 3 freshmen coming in. That puts you at 8. And you have 2 returning, which puts you at 10 now, scholarship players for next season. They can't be done because, look, the scholarship numbers are now going up to 15 for next year. Teams can have 15 scholarship players, but sort of the consensus belief around the SEC is that teams aren't going to go to 15. And that's probably the right decision. Remember, we're going to be going into the NIL revenue share era, where these teams are going to have a capped amount they can spend in revenue share on their basketball roster. Well, if you have a finite amount of resources, let's just say, I'm going to use a round number. Okay, this is a low number. Let's say it's a round number. But let's say you have $1 million of revenue share for your basketball roster. That's probably low, but I'm just using a round number, okay? Let's say you have $1 million in revenue share for your roster. Well, if you have 15 scholarship players, well, now you're dividing that $1 million among 15 players. Everyone's going to get a smaller piece of the pie. Well, what if you had 11 or 12 scholarship players? Well, now everyone gets a bigger piece of the pie. You're not going to have as many players, but in theory, you're going to be able to have a higher quality of player because of what you'd be able to pay in committing revenue share. So overwhelmingly, the consensus here seems to be that it's not going to be an issue where you're going to get to 15. But as of right now, again, with 5 via the portal, 3 freshmen coming in and 2 coming back, you're at 10. You can't be done. You've got to get probably 2 more here before it's all said and done. And it makes sense for Givens to go into the portal when LSU added DJ Thomas. DJ Thomas was a top 10 player overall in the country in the portal, the number 8 overall player according to 24/7. He's the best point guard in the portal from UNLV. He is your plug-and-play day-one starter, so you brought in a guy who's the best in the country at that position where Curtis Givens plays. So I can sort of understand Givens maybe looking for an opportunity to go elsewhere and play. Not saying I love it or think it's going to be a great move for him, but I can understand the logic and the thinking, what he's getting to there. So Matt McMahon and the basketball Tigers lose another one here in Curtis Givens, which means they still have work to do. The portal window closed on Tuesday, so no more players can go into the portal. But obviously, with all of the players currently in the portal, you can now add those players that have declared, the Tigers and Matt McMahon still have work to do. Okay, from the men's basketball portal to the women's basketball portal. Flau'jae Johnson finally on the record in her own words speaks about her decision to return to LSU, and Kim Mulkey speaks about her transfer portal woes as another women's basketball player hit the portal just at the deadline. We'll talk about that as we continue Locked On LSU, your team every day. The NBA playoffs are here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking my favorite team, diving into player props, from three-pointers to steals to assists. FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. So don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. That's at FanDuel.com. Well, the men's basketball team wasn't the only basketball team on campus to get some portal news on Wednesday and on Thursday. Flau'jae Johnson, who had previously announced that she was foregoing the WNBA draft, which clearly she did. The WNBA draft came and went. A few days after that, however, Flau'jae went on to her YouTube channel, onto her podcast, and talked about her decision that she was foregoing the WNBA draft, that she wanted to go out on a win, didn't want to go out on a loss, still felt like she had more to grow. And so that was part of it. But Flau'jae didn't specifically say that she was returning to LSU, just that she was foregoing the WNBA draft. Then she teased a big announcement, and so there was some confusion about Flau'jae's future. Well, she sat down with the folks over at Front Office Sports, and they had a conversation that was that made it very obviously clear with no ambiguity of what Flau'jae's plans are.
Let's just clear the air. You are coming back to play for Kim Mulkey at LSU.
Yes, I'm coming back to LSU.
So what went into that decision? Obviously, we know you talked about the CBA playing into your decision to return for another season, to finish out your college career. But specifically when it comes to LSU, was there any contemplation about, entering the transfer portal?
It wasn't really any contemplation. It was just like conversations that I wanted to be had with Coach Mulkey, you know what I'm saying? Because, this is my last year. I definitely want to win, but it's also like I want to make sure that I'm being developed to be like the player that I want to be in the WNBA. You know what I'm saying? So, just trying to find out how I can make that happen this year. Like, this is my last year, so I want to be, you know what I'm saying, as prepared as possible. So,
Flau'jae, as without any degree of ambiguity, says she is returning to LSU, which is fantastic news, obviously, for Kim Mulkey. As Flau'jae is a first-team All-American. She's a dynamic scorer. She can play the 1 or the 2. She's the team leader. You got to have her back, and she wants to continue to getting developed. So that's fantastic news. And when you look at the transfer portal for Kim Mulkey and the women's basketball team, it has been a bit of an overhaul. There have been now 6 departures. Samaya Smith was the first departure, the redshirt sophomore. That's unfortunate because Samaya Smith suffered a torn ACL and MCL in the 2023-24 season, came back this season, but her averages weren't great, 6 points, 6 rebounds, but did have double-doubles in both the rounds of 32 and Sweet 16 for LSU. In theory, that was going to be someone who was going to play a big role for LSU next season. Samaya Smith is headed to Virginia. Last year, Poa also hit the transfer portal, of course, a member of LSU's national championship team. Poa is headed out to Arizona State. Leah Del Rosario, the former 5-star prospect from 2023, 6'6" front court piece. It just never really materialized for Del Rosario. She averaged just 2 points and 2 rebounds a game, 6 minutes a game. And as a result, we've seen LSU now address that position in the portal as well. The 4th departure was Jersey Wolfenbarger, another big who LSU brought in from Arkansas a year ago. Didn't really see the playing time she wanted. Then Amani Bartlett entered the transfer portal as well. That news was reported on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, or also on Wednesday, we learned that Miracle Shepard entered the transfer portal. So when you look at where LSU is with 6 players entering the portal so far, they've only had 2 additions. Kate Koval, the forward from Notre Dame, a 6'5" forward who, again, was a 5-star, similar to Del Rosario, left Notre Dame after 1 season and is now going to be joining the LSU Tigers. And then they've also added Amia Joyner, a forward out of East Carolina, 6'2", signed with LSU. That is official, as is Koval. So, Joyner averaged 15 points and 9 rebounds per game. So you got somewhat of a plug-and-play replacement there for LSU in Anissa Morrow coming off of this season. But one of the things that was interesting is Kim Mulkey had a long sit-down with Jacques Doucet from WAFB. And in that conversation, they talked about the transfers and Kim Mulkey's thoughts on the transfers and just sort of the approach that they're taking right now in the program.
I don't have animosity. I don't have anger toward any of these players. What I want for them is happiness. Now, do I believe in my heart of hearts that you're going to be any more happier somewhere else? Maybe if you get more playing time. But as you see, not just at LSU, but across the country, starters are transferring. All Americans are transferring. So the reasons young people transfer and get in the portal now can be anywhere from money to playing time to I just graduated, I need a change. There is no finite reason why it's happening, but it's here. And as I said, we better adapt or die. So for every player that we lose, you hate it, but you bring somebody in. And my philosophy on that is bring in players that can help you continue to be relevant in women's basketball. And we feel like we're going to do that, and we're not done yet.
Keep in mind, they've had 6 players out via the portal. They've added only 2 players via the portal, and you do have the number 1 freshman class in the country coming as well. But you heard Kim say it, they're not done because they can't be done yet. They've got to field a roster and fill out a roster to be able to put a full team on the floor. So both Kim Mulkey and Matt McMahon still with work to do here in this transfer portal cycle, as a couple of late portal entries for both the men's and the women's basketball team. But good news for Kim Mulkey, Flau'jae Johnson did make it official with no uncertain terms. She is returning to LSU for her senior season. The NFL draft is upon us. Your final preview as we wrap up Locked On LSU, your team every day. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe, or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and Avowed as easily as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. Got the latest technology for elevated playing, and there's endless entertainment. With 4K streaming, you can watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes from your favorite subscribed services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and more. Hosts with hardcore gaming experience, you can share your experience and how the Fire TV Stick can be a game changer. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd Gen. The NFL draft is upon us. Thursday, round 1 of the draft. Of course, Friday will be rounds 2 and 3. And then Saturday following will be rounds 4 through 7. Subsequently, we'll see the undrafted free agents find their landing spots wherever that may be. For a little context, we're expecting at least 6 LSU football players to hear their names called throughout the draft. Will Campbell will be the high, as we talked in the previous episode. So if you're an everydayer, shout out. You heard this already. But in LSU's football history, they've had 1 offensive lineman drafted in the first round of the NFL draft. That was Alan Faneca in 1998, the first and only offensive lineman to be taken in the first round of the NFL draft. That's going to change. Will Campbell And Faneca was 26th overall. Will Campbell very likely going to go 4th overall to New England, and he will be the highest drafted offensive lineman in the history of LSU football. For what it's worth, the absolute latest odds, Will Campbell is now minus 500 to be the number 4 overall pick and minus 800 to be the first offensive lineman drafted. So we are all anticipating that Will Campbell is in fact going to be the first offensive lineman taken and that he will be the 4th pick to the New England Patriots. And it'll be a great thrill for Will Campbell for that to happen. As we mentioned on a previous episode as well, last week I was at Phil's Oyster Bar in Baton Rouge, and Will Campbell was having lunch there. I was in a public place, so I don't mind saying this. It was Will Campbell and actually Miles Frazier as well. So it's something to file away. Maybe Miles Frazier might be a middle round pick of the Patriots. But Campbell and Frazier were having lunch with the Patriots brass, which included head coach Mike Vrabel. So you don't fly to Baton Rouge to have lunch with Will Campbell a week before the draft if you're not serious about him as a prospect. So it appears as though that's how it's going to go down with Campbell, despite the conversation about if his arm length is good enough or whatever that foolishness was. It looks like Will Campbell will, in fact, be the 4th pick of the draft. We're keeping an eye on how many other players may go. Campbell, Mason Taylor, Emory Jones, Miles Frazier, Savion Jones, and Braden Swinson. Those 6 in some order are absolutely going to hear their names called over the next 3 days. Big question is who else will be called. You'll have those 6. Potentially, you'll likely hear Zy Alexander's name called. That could be 7. Someone like Gio Paez could hear his name called. That could potentially be 8. Greg Penn, the great linebacker, number 18. He could hear his name called. That could be 9. Josh Williams is someone who might be a around 7 pick, a late day 3 selection as someone who, might very well have a perfect landing spot for a team. One thing to keep in mind with the NFL draft sometimes is teams might take a flyer on a player in day 3 that they really like if they don't feel like they'll have an opportunity to get him in free agency, in undrafted free agency. This happened with the Saints years ago. There was a running back out of Cal named Daniel Lasco. Well, the Saints took him in round 7. Well, the Saints already had Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara. They didn't need Daniel Lasco to run the football, but he was a special teams ace at Cal, and he ended up making the New Orleans Saints team as a special teamer and a guy that could be some running back depth. Well, if he had gone to undrafted free agency, he wouldn't have picked the Saints because he was going to go somewhere where he felt like he'd have a better chance of running the football. So sometimes that's the conversations that happen with these undrafted free agents, is they're looking for a spot where they could go. So a team who may not have an opportunity to sign that player as an undrafted free agent, but they like him, might take him in round 3. So maybe that's something that could happen, or on day 3, like in round 7, if there's a team that loves Josh Williams but doesn't think they might be able to get him in undrafted free agency, they might use a 7th round pick on him or something like that. For what it's worth, last year, LSU had 6 players taken, 6 players also in 2023. In 2022, they popped 10 players, including Derek Stingley, became the highest drafted corner ever. In 2021, there were 7 LSU Tigers drafted. And of course, the record was all the way back in 2020 after LSU won the national championship when you had 14 players. That was the LSU record, 14 players drafted in that 2020 draft, including Joe Burrow, Caleb on Chasson, Justin Jefferson, Patrick Queen, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 5, count them, 5 first rounders in that draft as well. Don't know that we're going to get 5 first rounders. I think you could see 2. Will Campbell will certainly be one. There's a chance that a team that falls in love with Mason Taylor, that picks at the end of round 1, that wants a tight end, realizes he may not be there at the end of round 2, so they pop him in round 1 to get the 5th year option as well as a first round pick. So maybe another one worth keeping an eye on in day 1 of the NFL draft. We'll be here covering it all on Locked On LSU. Hey, thanks so much for making this your first listen every single day. And now for your second listen, check out the Portal Show. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. So be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find the Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you are on podcast, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Rate us, leave a review. If you're on YouTube, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video, and let a friend know if they love the Tigers. We got you here every single day for Locked On LSU, your team every day.